Welcome back to the Mars Venus Coaching Podcast, where we explore what it really takes to build a thriving coaching practice. If you already are a part of our growing community, thank you very much. And if you're new here, do me a quick favor. Hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification so you never miss another episode. In today's videos, we are going to show you how to communicate in a way that constantly builds trust and makes people feel comfortable saying yes without you having to feel like you're selling. Rich, let's jump straight in, I say. There's this big fuss around the perfect sales script. Does something like that exist? Is that really the most important part of the process?
Definitely what you say is not the most important part of the process because the words are such a lot of people don't know that 78% of communication is nonverbal. So it's really your body language. Does it have the confidence it needs? Your tone of voice, your raise of an eyebrow, your facial expressions. The words are the least that they're listening to. And so you really have to learn to connect with that person 100%. And what's so interesting is when you connect with people, you have to be underneath all of that truly, authentically, genuinely interested in people, especially the person right in front of you. Whether you're on a Zoom call or you're, in front sitting face to face, or you're even on the phone, they can feel that authenticity of, is this person really interested in me? So I think underneath all sales scripts and everything else that you could do, underneath all of that is your genuine interest in that person.
I mean, that makes a lot of sense, right? Authenticity, it just comes through, right? If somebody lies to your face or just doesn't believe what they talk about,
Or
I
or
think
if they're just
most
trying to
people,
do it for the sale. They're not
ah,
really interested in you.
ah,
They're interested in making the sale. And I think that's one of the most important. I don't really care whether the
mhm.
person buys my coaching services. What I really care about is that I give them value and that I got to know them and that I really connected with them. I've had people come back a year later and go, I've been thinking about our one session and now I'm ready to start. Those
Yeah, yeah.
just fall out of the sky because you made a true connection.
Why are relationships so important in sales?
Because they buy from people they like. They buy from people who are genuinely interested in them. They buy from people. They're not really buying your product. They're buying you. Do I really want to connect with this person and learn from this person and grow with this person in my life? We
Yeah.
have a formula here at Mars Venus that we teach to our coaches.
Uh-huh.
It's a really good formula. It's called Ford, the Ford model of building rapport. It starts off with F, and F is friends and family. Everybody talks about friends and family. I got two kids, I've got a wife, and they think that's connecting. The O is occupation. What do you do? Well, I'm a lawyer, I'm a doctor, I'm a coach, whatever. That's very typical. The R is where you really start to connect. The
Mhm.
R is recreation.
Okay.
My favorite question when I go networking or meet a new person, my favorite question is, what do you do? I'm a lawyer. What do you do when you're not lawyering? Now they get to talk about what they love in life. Do they love
Mhm.
reading? Do they love traveling? If you asked me that, I would tell you I love horses. I love everything about them. I love the smell. I love the cleaning their shoes. I love everything about a horse. And I get to talk to you about my favorite thing. You know what that does? That connects us because you asked me about my favorite thing. And I
Yeah.
get to talk about that. And then the D is any dreams or where do you see yourself, after you retire? Do you want to be a philanthropist or, whatever? What are the things you want to do? But the R is the connecting question. And then you have
Mhm.
to truly be interested in their answer. You follow that model, you will build rapport.
Okay. I've heard this quote, to become the most interesting person in the room, you got to ask the most interesting questions. Is there something with, to be interesting, be interested? Is
Yes.
that,
I've
yeah?
heard that and I teach that. In
Hmm.
order to be an interesting person, you have to be interested in them. And I'll just tell you very quickly, many times my wife and I will go to a party, and at the end of the party, they'll go up to her and say, "Your husband is so interesting."
Hmm.
And she'll ask me, "Well, what did you tell him about?" I didn't say anything. I only asked them questions about them. Like, what do you do when you're not doing that? The fact that they liked me, they see me as interesting, and I didn't answer one question. I didn't tell them one thing about my life other than asking them questions about, I'm interested in you. And they call me interesting.
Very nice. Okay, Rich, that sounds interesting. Sort of the Ford model. Let's go through an example of how you apply that Ford model in a conversation with a prospect, maybe in a networking.
Okay. Whether I'm at networking or a social event, it's all the same. Like I
Yeah.
said in the beginning, underneath, I'm genuinely interested in that person.
Hmm.
So always my first question, I want to get to know people and see how they describe themselves, is I
Hmm.
always ask them, who are you? Tell me a little bit about you. Or who is that guy? Who is Helmut? Who is Rich? Who is this woman? So I'm asking them because I don't know where to start and I don't know where they're going to start. And as soon as they start answering that question, we
Hmm.
use a process here at Mars Venus that we teach our coaches called narrative therapy.
Right.
Narrative therapy is asking them a question about literally what they just said, but using their words. So I incorporate their words into my question, and then it leads to the next question, the next question, the next question. And somewhere in there, I'll start with family. So tell me a little bit about your family. Who do you have kids? Are you married? Are you, in a relationship? And then I'll go to, so what do you do? And they'll tell me what they do. That's the occupation. And then as soon
Hmm.
as I have that, I go, what do you do when you're not doing that? My favorite question, because
Hmm.
that's when they really open up. I can see literally their eyes start to sparkle. Their face gets a little flushed. They get excited to talk about travel or reading or whatever they love to do. Mine is
Hmm.
horses. I get to talk to you about horses because I actually love the animal. And that's how you get that connection with another person. So
Right.
important to use the Ford model and to
Uh-huh.
use narrative therapy. So I'm asking them a question about what they just said
Hmm.
using their words so they feel heard and understood.
Okay. Are there any other ways you can maybe read the other person? Are there any communication modalities?
Sure, sure. There's visual, auditory, and kinesthetic. And so when
Mhm.
people talk, you can read their body language. Are they looking at you or are they just kind of looking around the room? Are they really paying attention? Are they auditory people? You can see auditory people actually tilt their ear forward.
Uh-huh.
Auditory people do that.
Mhm.
So because they really want to hear you. I read an article once about the difference between visual, auditory, kinesthetic about a car crash. If
Mhm.
you ask a visual person about a car crash, they're going to describe how they see it. If you ask an auditory person, they're going to literally describe how they heard it. How they
Mhm.
literally heard the bending of the metal, that kind of thing. Or if they're a kinesthetic person, they're visceral. They can feel it in their body, like the crunch of the metal. I could feel it in my bones. So the
Mhm.
way they talk tells you a little bit about what is their language that they learn from.
Okay, so you could listen to how they speak. Even in the Ford model, you could apply the Ford model and those modalities, the visual, the auditory,
Auditory
the
and
kinesthetic, right?
kinesthetic. Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
you can do that.
And
And
what
you
you,
try to notice the patterns because you're
okay.
really interested in that person. You're not just having a conversation. And hopefully, you're going to ask me about me so I get to talk. You're not thinking about that at all. You're just
Mhm.
deeply interested in that person.
Mhm.
And then
Mhm.
you become interesting.
Okay. So if you've realized, if you've seen, okay, a visual, I'm standing across a visual person, how would you use that knowledge in a sales conversation?
Then I'm going to describe things visually so they see it. If I'm going to talk about coaching and buying my coaching services, I want them to see what the benefits are. I want them to see the change, the transformation that'll happen in their life. So I'm
Mhm.
not focused on selling them, I'm focused on painting a picture to them.
Okay. And what about an auditory person? How
I,
would you
I would
present?
talk to them about how the transformation is going to change the way they talk to themselves because
Ah.
that's how they hear themselves. We all have this language, internal
Mhm.
dialogue that's
Mhm.
going on in how we talk to ourselves. You deserve this or you don't deserve that or that loop of negativity many times. So
Mhm.
I'll talk to them about the auditory part of what the transformation is going to look like.
And probably also like what the family members or their friends say about them after the
The
transformation.
words that they use, correct.
Okay. And what about kinesthetics? So that's about
Kinesthetic's
feeling,
even
right?
easier. It's even easier because it's how you feel about yourself, how you
Mm,
feel about your life. And I'm going to talk about the transformation in terms of how they feel, right? So, because kinesthetic people are feeling everything around them, they're usually very empathetic as well. So, I want to
mhm.
get into how you're going to feel about yourself, how you're going to carry yourself, how you're going to walk from now on with your body language, your shoulders back, your chest up, being proud of yourself. Those are strong words for a kinesthetic person.
Right. I like that. And I guess that again helps connecting on a deeper level,
100%. Yes.
right?
On a human level.
So would you consider that as the authentic rapport, as being authentic?
Yes, as long as you're not acting through all this. I'm not acting. As I said at the very beginning, the foundation is truly being interested in people. I am truly interested in people. I think they're fascinating. I think the psychology of people, the behavior, the attitudes are very interesting to me, and they are pliable. You know what I mean? You can bend them, you can convert them into somebody who believes in themselves.
Mhm.
I am that kind of person. You hang out with me long enough, you will believe in yourself.
Okay. How else can we connect with the opposite,
Well,
with the
as you
person
said,
across from me?
communication, and I got to be honest, everybody has a different personality style, and that personality style dictates your communication modality, how you're
Mhm.
going to communicate. And we look at it at Mars Venus. We use DISC a lot, the DISC, because it's simple to understand. It's very easy to apply, and so we teach that here. Where a D personality, that dominant personality, how do I talk in their language? The I, the fun loving person, how do I talk in their language? The S or the steady, how do I really communicate? Because all of them are very different, even with your body language. With a D, I'm leaning forward and being a little bit more assertive. With an I, I'm being more fun loving. With an S, I'm leaning back and talking a little bit softer. With a C, I'm
Mhm.
talking in details to them. Disc profiling is fascinating because the profile that they have personally of who they are is exactly how they communicate. And so
Mhm.
that makes me a better communicator because I can sell to a D very differently than an I, differently than an S and a C. So that's a big tool that we teach here.
Yeah. And in terms of layers of communication, like you would have, nonverbal communication as the deepest, as the most probably subconscious and unconscious layer,
Right.
like how you hold your body language, how you stand, how you sit. Then would be probably language. Is the next layer then those modalities, the audio, the
I
visual,
think
the
so.
kinesthetics, and then above from that would
Disc.
that be the
And
disc
above that
layer?
would be the disc profiling.
Okay.
And then finally would be whatever your message is. That's last
Hmm.
on the totem pole. But yes, a lot of what you're saying is NLP now. That neuro linguistic programming is your body language because people tend to, if you sit across from somebody and you mirror kind of how they are sitting, how their body language, how their arms are crossed, and if they cross their legs the other way, you switch with them, they start picking up on those cues very subconsciously. They don't even think about it. And then they connect on that very deep human level,
Yeah.
that
I guess with the
subconscious level.
Yeah, I've heard about the mirroring. The thing with I've always wondered with the mirroring, doesn't that start being like if it's too obvious, it's got to be done subtly and almost like maybe counter mirroring. Like if I cross my right leg, you cross your right leg. If it happens the first time, I may not notice it. If I then, cross over to my left leg and you follow, I'll definitely pick that up, and that will sound strange. That
You
will
think you
look
would, but you
weird.
don't. People, it's so
Mm.
subconscious. It's such on a subconscious level that people don't notice unless you're doing it, very intentionally.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Very inauthentically. You know what I mean? I'm really trying to connect with that person.
Mm.
So I'm not, as soon as you cross your legs, I cross mine. And then as soon as you cross your arms, I cross mine. Then it's too deliberate. It's
Yeah.
it's not being authentic. I'm being authentic because a lot of times that mirror is happening without even thinking about it. In the middle of a conversation, I'm not deliberately saying, let me match what they're doing. So, because that again becomes inauthentic. And I want it to be on a subconscious level. And then
Mhm.
I want to use the languaging that they would hear, whether it's visual, auditory, or kinesthetic. And then I want to add to that the DISC. What is their modality of speaking,
Mhm.
right? Because if a person is an S type personality, which is a little bit slower, a little bit softer. They don't like change. And I come in like a D, which is a dominant personality, which is mine. I'm going to blow them out of the water. They're not going to hear a word I say because I'm too domineering, over them. So I'm going to take a very soft approach. And I look at those layers and then my messaging.
Okay, that's interesting. Before we finish, do you have an exercise you can give away to our viewers, something they can do to improve how they connect? Is there
Yes,
anything you
I
can?
would have them practice narrative therapy. To me, it's one of the most powerful tools. I use it in coaching all the time. We're taught it by Dr. John Gray because he's a
Mhm.
psychologist and he knows all. So we have a little bit of that advantage. But I think using that tool, asking them a question about what they just said, which shows you're interested, but using their words, which shows you were listening, right? We
Mhm.
want to show our interest and the fact that we heard them, we hear them, we understand them. I get that a lot again from my wife's friends that go over to my wife and say, "Your husband is the only man who gets me." And then she goes, "Why do they say that?" Because I use narrative therapy. She goes, "Well,
Mhm.
stop doing that Mars Venus stuff." Just because it really does connect you with that person that they feel heard and understood and that you're interested in them. I would practice that on a daily basis. It works with kids, it works with family and friends, not just in a coaching setting.
Mhm.
One thing I will tell you is all of these tools that I use, these are not tools that I use. They have become who I am. You
But you
got
got
to
to practice
practice it.
it.
Right. Until it becomes a habit. Like I
Becomes,
said,
yeah.
the NLP becomes a habit, the neuro linguistic programming, the next level of really being genuinely interested in a person becomes a habit.
Mhm.
DISC becomes a habit. Listening intently becomes a habit. And most of
And
the time, our focus is outward.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
And so we want to really focus on the person in front of us.
And through that connection, are we saying that we don't necessarily need a sales script per se?
Right. It's not bad to follow a script, but you don't want it to be so robotic that that's all you're delivering. If you
Mhm.
get underneath with everything we discussed today and add, certain bullet points to your script, not "Hi, my name is Rich," and that not that kind of script, but literally just some bullet points that you could say, "Okay, I don't want to forget that. I don't want to forget this." And then underneath all of that is that authenticity, then it just makes it that much more powerful.
Well, I guess that's the heart of great communication, right? It's real connection. And
Mm.
I guess when you learn to match how people speak and respond, the whole sales conversation changes. It stops feeling like selling and starts feeling natural and even fun.
And even fun.
And for you at home, please make sure you subscribe. Turn on those notifications so you don't miss another episode. And you don't miss the episode next week around the disc profiling. Until then, stay authentic, keep practicing, and we'll see you in the next episode.